taught me how to live. Daddy taught me how to give. Both of them had their own sins. Down to the river, every man has felt the shame. All our blood, it runs the same. Father, hear us as we pray. Down to the river, down to the river. Sing, oh, oh, bury me, carry me, oh, oh, far beneath, oh, oh, fire and water me, going down deep, singing, oh, oh, bury me, carry me, oh, oh, far beneath, oh, oh, fire and water me, washing me clean, carry
Welcome to the Cryptid Wilderness Research Podcast. I am CWR team member Daniel Becker up here in Anchorage, Alaska, staring into the Arctic abyss. And joining me, as always, from Quincy, Washington in the Pacific Northwest, my fellow host, Matt Slater.
Hello.
Matt, how are things?
Oh, it's going great. All the snow's gone. It's warmed up, hitting 55 degrees. Pretty soon we're going to be able to get out into the actual mountains up in higher elevations of the Cascades and really start doing some stuff. It feels great.
That'll be good. And also, I can't wait to see the footage that you're able to get from that new camera that you have. So I'm looking forward to that. So we need to give a shout out to some people. Our Cryptid Wilderness Research Network keeps getting bigger. And we're so blessed to be associated with such great researchers and podcast hosts. And so Chuck Johnson from Chuck's Outdoor Adventures, Duke Sullivan from World Bigfoot Central, Bigfoot Michigan Rob, and of course our mentors, William Lunsford, Stephen Hill down in Arkansas. And Tex Wesson from Texas Front Porch has been really great to us. Rob Roy Menzies out in Palmer, Alaska at the Bigfoot Art Gallery, and Larry Beans Baxter from the Alasquatch Podcast. And I know I'm forgetting a couple, Matt. So, but it keeps getting bigger, and we're so thankful. And if you are a researcher or a group of researchers, and you are looking for a great group of people to connect with, and to learn from, and to share experiences and share tips and advice, you can join the Cryptid Wilderness Research Network. There is room for you. And you can email us at cryptidwr@gmail.com. And it's all about networking. It's all about connections. It's all about making each other better. And learning what works, learning what doesn't work. And, it's great to have people to bounce ideas off of.
Absolutely.
So I know I forgot a couple. So for those of you that I forgot, please forgive me. So also joining us tonight from Europe, from Germany, is our friend from Trails in the Woods, Tom Coburn. And we are so happy to have him back and to have him as a partner as well in our Cryptid Wilderness Research Network. So let's bring Tom on.
Hello, everybody.
There he is. There he is. Thank you so much for coming back with us. We appreciate it. And we know it's a bit later there than it is here. So thanks for taking the time.
No problem. Thank you for having me back again. And, it's a great honor. Yeah.
So
in the time, it doesn't matter what time really.
No, we appreciate you. So bring us up to date. You were on before, and it's been a couple of months, and so bring us up to date. What have you been up to? What's the research been like?
Yeah, been going out as much as I can really, finding new structures and things, same kind of size prints again, of the 14, 16 inches, or 17 inches. You know, I've been waiting a whole year to try and go back to a certain area, and that just happened 2 weeks ago. So I went back there, and I had a lot of really crazy, finds there. Yeah, it's been good. A lot of new structures, like I say, and a lot of new knocks. I hear locks. Knocks. I call them knocks. I think, like I say, I think they're done with a tongue. But that's getting quite often now. More often, should I say? Yeah. Getting
So
good.
the last time that you were on, we talked a little bit about the hikers in Europe, in Germany there. And one of the things that you mentioned that I found interesting is that you said that there people don't tend to go off the trail very much.
No.
Yeah, tell us a little bit more about that.
Yeah, this is a big thing, really. You get quite a lot of, there's loads of hiking trails here, and there's a lot of hikers. People go out, on the bikes as well. But they never go off the beaten paths. They always stay to the paths. A lot of people don't even really look around. They just kind of keep their head down. It surprises me because I'm very observant when I'm out and looking at everything around me. I often see people, and they'll be there walking with their head down and miss everything. You'll get hunters out there. You've got the forest people. I've never seen them. I've seen where they've been, but I've never seen. I've never seen them. Loggers roads. I've never come across anybody walking down an old loggers road. That's only me I've ever seen doing that. That's why the prints are really good to find, in these areas. But another thing, me and Duke backstage, Duke Sullivan, we've been talking about it, and it was about being observant to the surroundings, and not just the trees, but also the birds and things like that, nature itself, the animals. And me and Duke have been talking about birds, and and I thought I wanted to actually discuss that with you, because birds are a big thing in nature, and they've all got their different calls and warning calls, mating calls. And if you can tune in and learn these certain birds with their different calls, you can really get a picture of if there's danger coming or if something's approaching. And here we have a bird. It's the European blackbird, and if you scare one of them in the forest, everything is alert. It makes such a noise when it flies away, making its warning calls. Very young age, when I was hunting, if you did this, everything knew you were there. Once you'd scared this certain bird, and what I'm trying to say is, being aware of these birds, it's something that the wild folk, 100%, they will do this. They will be listening to the birds and seeing where they fly, which direction they, bolt. If they've been spooked, which way they're flying away from, the different warning calls. And I think this is a big thing to be aware of. And the other day I wanted to mention about ravens, and ravens are really curious. They're my spirit bird. I love ravens, but many times I'll be looking at a print or a structure, and suddenly a pair of ravens will fly over, and I've started to, if I hear the ravens now, I'll if I hear them fly over and they'll do their low kind of croaks, I'll follow them the direction they go, and I'll always find a really good find in the direction they're flying. It's too much of a coincidence, and or I'll find some good prints, or I'll hear a wood knock from the direction that I've just followed them to. And the other day I was just there, and I got back to this anniversary day, and I could hear these ravens. They were there, the two ravens flying over, and I thought to myself, it's just funny that literally the direction they're flying from right now is the direction I'm planning to go, and later on, the direction that they'd flown to, I'd heard wood knocks coming from. So, it was too much of a coincidence with the ravens there. Yeah.
So before I forget, someone that I work with actually wanted me to ask you this question because they're a history buff. And they wanted me to ask, are you ever concerned about coming across unexploded ammunition in the woods in Germany?
No. There's so much leaf matter. Every year you've probably got, I don't know, a meter of new leaf that falls. You'd have to dig down a good while. But they do find bombs all the time. In the town I live, when they do new buildings here, they'll find bombs for sure. And in the forest around here on the edge of the town, you'll find the craters, where the bombs have been dropped, and they're still there. The craters are they're pretty big holes, so there were definitely bombs out there, but it doesn't. I actually do a lot of metal detecting up in the north, and it does. It plays on your mind, but.
So the forest in Europe has, because of all the fairy tales that have come out of that region of the world, the forest in Europe has a sort of enchanted, mysterious reputation to a lot of Americans. Do you ever get out there and do any type of night research, or is like the forest there at night isn't just not someplace that you want to be?
It's a good question, actually. I would love to do it. I really want to go out at night. I just don't want to do it on my own. And it's not just because the wild man. There's a lot of other stories of creepy things happening, and there's got to be so many spirits in these forests after the wars, and I don't know, to do it on my own. Not only that, there's so many boar. There's like thousands of boar, and they are active at night. Yeah, you've got to be really careful driving along the roads here because they're churning up all the sides of the roads. If a boar ran into your camp, I don't know. If I could find somebody to do it with, I'd 100%. I'll be back in England next week, and I'll be, hopefully getting 2 or 3 episodes out from England, and this will be with my friends, a team, my UK team, I call it, and then I'll go out. We'll do night research. We'll be looking for Black Panthers. I know so many, haunted locations there. We'll probably stop off. I'll just tell the little ghost story of the area, and then we'll, be getting into some of the woodlands, forests around Wales, and see if we can find, some evidence out there. But like I say, we'll be doing night research then. But I'm with a team, so there's four of us all together. But here, I don't know, it's just so much more, I don't know, too creepy. Seen too many orbs, too many, active sites here, and there's other stories coming out, in, I don't know, on my own. I think there's a big reason here in Germany you don't see or hear anybody out in the forest after dark. Like they just don't go out into the forest after dark. You will get hunters, that'll be it, and they'll be in twos or threes. Usually, they'll have their truck there parked up, but nobody goes out in the forest after dark here. Nobody's walking out there, or I don't know. I wouldn't like it.
Oh, right. I don't blame you. Now, I know we asked you this question last time, but for those of our viewers that are seeing you for the first time, are there any bears around your research areas?
No, that's the good thing as well. I'd love to have bears. I'd love to have them around, but it's a good thing that, in a way, looking for the wild man and that you can't mistake them for being bear tracks. The tracks that I'm finding, there's no bears, so it can't be them. They're in Poland, and stuff like that. I think you got bears in Romania, and I think one may have crossed about 20, 30 years ago, maybe 20 years ago into Germany. But, they went and shot it, which I think is a shame. I think they should have bears, really, but, they're just not here. They haven't been since the 1800s, I think.
Yeah, as a researcher, that's definitely good. Like here in Alaska, obviously, where we have a large predator like that, sometimes those bear tracks can be misidentified as
Yeah, for sure.
Bigfoot tracks, and you really gotta watch it closely.
Yeah.
But so the Sasquatch there, um, do they have a reputation for being more on the aggressive side or more on the elusive side?
I would just say the elusive side. I've not had any aggression or anything at all. When I had my sighting, she just passed in front of me real quick. And I think there was two of them because I'd been paralleled, a few minutes before, 20 minutes before, say. And then I felt very uncomfortable, very, and I don't get uncomfortable in the forest. I felt very, vulnerable when I heard that, which was very strange. I don't think I mean, this is the thing about going back to that nursery, because that was the day I saw that female, and I know that there was two of them, but what I've gone back and found there, it I don't like I say I don't. It kind of answers the question in a way. I don't think they're aggressive, but I think they're that elusive that if they think they've been compromised, they will go back and destroy everything that you've touched and and break it down because I feel they've been compromised. Because I think here they've been doing it probably longer than they've been doing it in America. Hiding from people. If you look at the stories of how long they go back, thousands of years probably, and I think they're even more elusive here. Like they just don't, and it's probably that sums up as well why probably 90% of people wouldn't even know or believe in it, or even contemplate it being something that is actually real, living in the forests. So in Europe, I mean,
Right.
there's a lot more Americans that believe. I mean, probably every American has heard of a Bigfoot, but I would say there's probably a handful of people in Europe who've heard of wild men still being in Europe. But years ago that was a different case. A lot of people here would have believed and seen it and talked about it more. And actually, I just made it. My girlfriend, she just made a really awesome discovery a couple of weeks ago because she works for the city, and she gets this kind of tabloid, this news article on their work app, of different like kind of news related articles that discoveries that the city have made, and it's only for the city workers to like read on their lunch break. And they've just found this old parchment of the old coat of arms for this, and I never knew this for this town that I live in, and I was blown away because it's a wild man standing next to a shield, So
Oh, wow. That's amazing.
and I never knew about this until like a couple of weeks ago. No, they've only recently just found this parchment, maybe probably a couple of months ago, and it's inked on there. This wild man standing there, and I've known about other towns and cities in Germany that have this. So I was really happy to know that the town I live in also had it. Yeah.
So, for our new viewers who are just being introduced to you, take us back to the story of your personal encounter that you had.
Yeah, so that'd been last year around the same time. It was 25th of February, and I'd come across this area a few years ago where there's this tree stump of a fox skull on there, and I'd hear this really great wood knock there, or tongue pop, really tongue slap, and I tried to find this location again, and I managed to find it, and this is a good year later, and I was finding all these little structures and hearing knocks. Found this. Just before I found the fox skull again, I'd come into this area, really high smell of ammonia, like urine. It was like human. It wasn't like an animal. It wasn't like boar or deer. This was, or fox or anything, or lynx. This was like really human. It was like dirty public toilets times 100. But urine, not like pieces. It was urine, like. And then I'd found a fox skull again. Found this little archway, and all these little tiny footprints, like 5-6 inch footprints leading to it, and all these little broken structures. And next to the 5 and 6 inch prints, there was 8-inch prints, and I called it the nursery at the time. When I think about it now and going back, I don't know if it was a nursery or just maybe a holding area where they'd just been left for, an hour or two to play or something, I don't know. Surrounding this area, there was all these 14-inch footprints. And I just wanted to have a sit down there. And I'd heard, as I sat down, I'd fallen into a broken log. He had these bipedal footprints in the thick of the pine in front of me. So I got up and ran in, and I was really kind of stepped back at first. I thought, oh, should I do this? Because normally I don't feel like that. I'm not scared of forest or anything. But this time I was like, oh, do I go in? And then I thought, well, I'll just do it, and then instantly I just got these. It was like, just every time I walked, I'd got these really soft footprints, really softly in my footprints. This is happening either side of me. And I keep trying to stop. And I remember filming it, all my hair on my arms, back and neck, it was sticking up on end. I was on edge, really on edge. And as I came out of there, I didn't really want to turn. Just kind of kept going forward in a way. And then I found this really lovely really great massive structure of a great big arch of an ash tree that had been bent around these big pine trees, and there's this huge pine tree, you know, probably 5-6 inches across, probably about 1.5 meters high. You know, it was green wood. It had been snapped and then laid down into this big 4-figure. And there's all these other little breaks and twists of other branches behind it. And then this big deer bone there that had been, you know, broken and split in half to get to the marrow. And it was a big femur-like bone. And then again, you know, I think there were 14-inch prints that were leading up to this. How this had like stepped on bits of wood and pine needle. They're just flat impressions. You know, I can walk across that all day long, and there's really no mark I'll leave. You know, this was some serious weight that had been doing this. So I came out of there, and all the time I feel like I'm being watched. I keep seeing this. At one point, there was this kind of figure sitting there. I thought, well, I'm just not going to film it. I'll just try and walk close as I can, try and, you know, get close to it, you know, and see if it moves. And I'd just been sitting down, so I thought, well, I'm just going to get up and, you know, just walk towards it quick and film it, see what happens. And as I do that, it's not there. This black figure. So, and then after that, I'd come to this another stump, pine cone sticking in the side of it, and just filming that. I find all of this again in the anniversary. It's still there. The pine cone's still there. But this time my battery didn't die. You know, I was kind of expecting maybe my battery will die, but no, it didn't. Because I lost 30 on the day. I lost 30% of battery there. My phone and camera just completely dead. It was gone. It couldn't even turn it on. I hadn't even got like the backup kind of energy. It was dead. And I'm just walking back up towards that fox skull, and there's like, you know, kind of knee-height grass there. And I just look down, just check my footing, and as I look up, she just passed across this loggers road, and you know, she's kind of slightly leaning forward. Back of her head kind of goes back to a point. Hardly any neck. Shoulders were, you know, they were huge. They were 3 times bigger than mine. Very rounded shoulders, and it kind of slightly curved in. Very large bum on her, huge, and really thick thighs. You know, like 2 of my legs probably put together. She just got her left arm slightly forward. It already gone behind this fir tree there, like a Christmas tree. And her right shoulder, her elbow, kind of slightly behind her back. And I thought about that as well, of how she moved, how she walked. She must have, in my mind, she must have been running. How she got across there that fast anyway, across this loggers road. But you think about how we move and how we run, and then if you look at like something like Patterson Gimlin film, where Patty's actually walking in there, and she's got this big like kind of swing of the arms. The one I saw hadn't got any of this big swing of the arms. But that'd be because she was running, you know, because like how we run, we don't swing our arms when we run. Our elbows just kind of come out to a certain point, you know, as we're kind of streamlined running. And that's kind of how I saw her, you know. And the sun was really shining really lovely on that day. And you could see all of her hair, how it was curved and flowed with the muscles of her body. And she was very like a dark chestnut color, but as the sun was shining on top of her, like on the curves, very ginger, very you know, like kind of my color when it's when sun kind of shines, gets kind of glow to it, you know, like very red, really. not very tall at all. She's no taller than me, 5'7", 6 foot tops, I'd say. She was never threatening, and I ran up there towards her, trying to see. I just wanted to see her again, and I got there, and she'd gone. Looking around for her. I think she just double flanked me and ran back around me, and crossed back probably across the loggers road into the thick dark pine tree to my right side. Because I'd never known if she'd have done that, how fast she was. And when I got there, it was very open. It was, it wasn't this pine. As she'd run across behind this Christmas tree, this fir tree, the rest of the forest there in this area was all beech trees, so it's quite open. So I'd have seen her again, if she'd have just been carrying on running straight forward. So I do believe she ran back left, back down my side, flanked me, basically, and ran back down behind the back of me. That was the first sight. And then a couple of weeks later, I think I saw the same individual again, same colour, same head, same back of the shoulders. I was just sitting there and just glanced across, and I just saw her duck down behind this embankment of a hill. And I just covered all this area. Like 10 minutes before, I spent a good hour walking around this whole area looking at different prints there and structures. I think I was getting the 17-inch prints there and 14 inches as usual. The 14 inches here are very common. There's that, and there's a 9-inch print, an 8 to 9-inch print. They're quite common too. They're not human neither. They're too wide, very wide print, very thick heel and balls. No real curvature to them. Very. I feel the younger one's got very thinner heel, and the heel is kind of more like that, and then a very widened toe area. From what I've seen, and I think as they get older, that heel fills out, and it's more of a big kind of block. Yeah, I've got a bit of a slight curve in the middle, but not much. And anyway, I'd seen her again at that second area, and I'm sure it was the same female. And then I've been wanting to go back there all year, thinking, do I go back? Been nervous about going back. I'm not ever nervous about it. Because I've seen her, I've seen one there, and in my mind, if that was somewhere where they'd left little ones playing, I don't know. I just didn't want to go back, and I did, and I didn't. So I kind of thought, right, I try and do it more of a research kind of based idea of the whole thing, and what I'll do is I'll go back, try and get it to the same day again, as what it was a year ago. So yeah, I've just been back, and I was pretty blown away with what I found. And I've got a bit of a theory of what left that skull. I feel it might have been the female who's left that skull there, but you know what I mean. No.
What a great experience that you had. Great encounter. We got some pictures that we want to show. And Matt, if you could go and pull those up, and we'll go through them, and go ahead and narrate us through this.
Yeah, this is another upright marker. It's actually been taken from a video, so it's very blurry. But it's in this very kind of wet area. You get all these they could be old World War II bomb holes. Actually, they're kind of all in a patch. These rivets, in the ground there. And you fill up with water every year, and right in the centre of that one is these upright markers. Now, every time I find one of these, you just got to scan the area, and you'll find another one, and you can walk to that. It's quite sometimes very hard to see, and it's not like people have done it that have made it easier to there's the next one there, there's the next one there. These sometimes you can't see at all, and then you just suddenly stumble on the next one, And when you stand in that and turn back, you'll see that you can still see the one you've just found before. And this is just one of just a nice example of one of the markers, because it was sticking out of this water, which was a pretty rare find. And this is next near a river, a small stream. In this area, there's loads of them, and you can across the river. There's some that on top of a bank that you can look down and see this, and then along the river there's others of these. This one, I think, if I remember correctly, they've been stuck in the ground. This one here had been stuck in the ground 12 inches, around 12 inches. So it some force to stick that down, and on the top they've all got fresh breaks. They've been snapped. There's no cuts, no saw marks in these or anything. That been snapped. They've been snapped and pushed into the ground. I call them markers.
And with these being driven into the ground that far, it's not like it's something that just happens. Like, it didn't fall off the tree and
land. When I first
way.
found one, exactly. I first found one. I thought, oh yeah, maybe that's just fallen out of a tree. It could happen, and it's just stuck into the ground. A perfect fall. But then it kind of quickly, that idea kind of quickly went out the window, because I'm suddenly finding them everywhere. And I find so many of them. It's pretty unbelievable. But it's all in this one area of the forest there. And I never find this in other forests. It's just this one forest up here that I get it. I found it in other forests, but not as many as what I find here. This is like just everywhere. No. Yeah, and again, this nice twisted branches. This was one branch that kind of came to a Y, and then it was all twisted together like that at the end. Now, I don't know. This could be natural, but when I'm finding other trees and branches that have been, thicker ones than this, that have had the same kind of treatment done to them, I don't know. And it's all in high areas of high activity, this is one I found 2 weeks ago back at the nursery. So beautiful, really.
Yeah, those are great.
It is.
Yeah.
It's pretty amazing how it just woven together like that.
No.
How far is your research area from where you live?
Yeah, I usually hike about an hour from where I live out of the town up into over the hills. Kind of lives in a big bowl. On a Saturday, just a day's research, I can probably do 23, 24 kilometers. But it's not far really. Everywhere around every city in Germany, it's all surrounding forest. It's really crazy if you look at how the cities are here. There's so much forest and nothingness in between. The cities is pretty amazing. Forest is literally on my doorstep. 10 minutes walk from where I live across a field, and I'm in the forest. And then I just I take probably to get to this location here. It takes me about an hour to walk, probably an hour and a half. And these all just on valleys and hills, connecting all the forest. This forest here that I'm in now, this connects to another forest, and then there's about 3 forests. They're all connected. They're all connected to another forest called Reinhardswald, which is the biggest forest in my county, and then about 40-minute drive north from me, there's the Harz Wald, when the Harz Mountains are. But all of these forests connect. It's pretty cool.
What do you
Very
think?
green. Germany's very green. And even if it looks like you look at the satellites on the Google Earth, sometimes you think, oh, there's no forests there, that looks all kind of barren land. When you zoom in, it's actually all bush, like real bushland, bushy, kind of really thick. It's where a lot of the boar live and stuff. But all of them, that bush, that's probably, I don't know, 6, 7, 8 feet high. Very easy to cover yourself walking through any of that, thick bush kind of like. And that's what will be in between the forests if they're not, properly connected to one another.
What would you say are the major food sources for Sasquatch in that area?
Yeah, I always thought that there'd probably be more, herbivore, and just because of how many bilberries we have, like bilberries, like blueberries. You got your blueberries in America quite big, but here we've got something smaller called a bilberry. And it is a blueberry really, but very small. They litter the forest, thousands of them, millions. And I'd say, certain time of year you could survive off that very easy. There's a lot of different edible mushrooms and raspberries growing out there and different nuts and seeds. But then in winter, I would say that possibly they are going for game. Like I found them broken, smashed up bones where like it looks like they've used rocks to break up the bones. To get to the marrow. There was no chew marks, and they've been smashed up. Bones had. And then like I said, I found these 2 skulls in the same area. So I think they are eating meat as well. If you look at how much protein and how much fats are in a tiny little pine cone seed, that's crazy for what it is. I know it's tiny and that, but who knows? They can find it, and there's no big predator animals in Europe anymore. Only wolves. There's only a few of them really, and lynx, but there's again only a few. All these big animals though could easily survive out there. They do in America. You've got bear and moose, elk. They're all living out there. It's easy for something that knows how. When we as humans go out there now, we've forgotten. So often we go out there and we starve to death. But because we've forgotten. But if you knew how, people have been doing it for millennia. So just about the knowledge, I suppose. Fish.
Matt, do we have that skull picture?
Yeah.
Tell us about this.
So this is the badger skull, and you can tell it's a badger skull. It's got more of a robust, stronger, like structured snout on it, and a lot more bigger sagittal crest on the back, and a fox skull that I found in exactly the same area is more of an elongated snout, and its sagittal crest is very small. And a badger, this is why badger has such a powerful bite, because its sagittal crest is there. It supports its muscles that go to its jaw, and you need a sagittal crest for this big, powerful bite. You need bigger muscles. That kind of goes into hominins as well, and how we've lost our sagittal crest for a bigger brain and jaws that don't need to be as powerful anymore, which kind of goes as to why we can look at foods and different foods and learn to cook it, and it's all kind of connected. Anyway, that's a different. So I'm going off topic there, but
That's still interesting.
so I'd gone back to the nursery and trying to look for this fox skull, and I'm checking all these stumps out, and I'm like, oh, is it this one? Is it that one? And I realize that it's gone. I can't find it. I'm looking on the ground everywhere. Think, it's been there probably 4 years, probably longer. So I think, but right now I'm going to go and try and find the nursery, and I just like walked away from this where the stump was, and I just looked down, and there's this just sitting there. I'd just kind of been looking around a little bit, and then it was just sitting there on top of the leaf, and behind it is all kind of bush, so it's kind of thick, dark bush behind it. But how that was sitting on the leaf, there was no, it was like it'd been put there like just that second, because there was no impressions of how it'd been sitting on the leaf or anything. It was just in all of, there was no dry parts. It had been raining, as you can see, the wet leaf, moist leaf. There was nothing dry underneath it. It was all, it just been left right there and then. That's how in my heart I feel, and it blew me away. It's so rare to find any bones out there in the forest. And then I've just, I knew this fox skull was there, and I go back, the fox skull is gone. But right, a couple of meters away, a few meters away, say 20 meters, is a new skull. It's a badger skull. I don't know. So I thought, what I'll do? I'll put this badger skull on that stump. And that's what I did. I picked it up and put it on the stump where the fox skull was. And I thought, right, I'm just going to leave that there as my little offering in a way. My little, if you've left that, then cheers. I'm going to put it where I knew you left that fox skull. So, and then, I keep hearing these ravens flying over, and it took me so long to find the nursery again. And the reason why is because when I got there, the archway that I'd first noticed, it had been ripped out of the trees, turned upside down. But how it was before, it had been wedged into these trees, So this had been taken out and left upside down away from it. So I'm like, oh, that's why I couldn't find it all this time. I've been looking around half an hour for it. And there was no sign of anything when I got back into the nursery. There was no signs of anything broken or anything new, anything fresh. There's no print marks, nothing. And I tried to redo my footsteps as best as I could to get back to the big structure, I call it the mega structure, where there was this big ash tree. And I got that, I couldn't believe it. It had been completely ripped out of the ground. It had been snapped. The ash tree had been broken off and left, flung off. Even the deer bone that was there, it could be from natural leaf fall, but it looked like it had stuff put on top of it to, cover it up. So I was kind of blown away by it all, and I don't know, it kind of come to me in my mind. Oh, sorry. And then I'm walking back out, and I hear the ravens going again, and just as they're going across to their direction, I hear a really loud, well, not loud, but really lovely wood knock, or tongue pop in the direction they're flying. And I thought, they probably are here, but so I'm kind of questioning myself. Am I too early? Because it's been more cold later on in the year, longer in the year. So maybe I'm too early. They're in the area. I can hear them knocking, so. But then I thought, I wonder if when I saw that female and I know she was with a second, I wonder if they felt that compromised that I'd seen them and they'd seen me all day touching all of their signs and their structures. What if they've gone back and like just destroyed it all, like completely covered up all of their signs and evidence? Because they've been. I know I've seen them. I know they're there. I've been looking at all their little symbols and whatever they do. All of their different structures and things all day. And if that's the case, and then I've been all year, I've been possibly followed around by this one female, and then I've gone back, and I've probably 10, 15 minutes. I'm looking for this fox skull. What if she's there watching me? She knows what I'm looking for because there's nothing else been on them stumps, And to me, it was just like as if she thought, like, oh, I've got a badger skull. I'll just leave that for you. I know what you're looking for. There's a badger skull. I don't know. It's all speculation, but a lot of it comes from feeling, I suppose, and how I'm there in the situation. I can read kind of the layout of the situation, the story, if you will, and that's what I was blown away by, just finding that badger skull there. Like, I don't know. Like I say, to me, it was like if she'd just left out. She probably felt, I don't know, a bit sad, like everything had been broken down, and I'm no threat, to them. Going back to birds quickly there, and I just wanted to, it's more like a story of the animal kingdom, really. But years ago, I used to go away to the school. It was for learning stonemasonry. And I used to go away for weeks on end into another city called in Maine, along the River Rhine. And for 3.5 years, I was going, and there used to be this swan, and it was always on its own. And it'd always come and sit and chill with us, And I know it's wrong, and I should never have done it, but I used to give it a little bit of bread or, a couple of seeds or something, And it'd always sit there and really friendly. And the last year I went there, this same swan was there, but this time it got a female with it. And this swan was not the same swan anymore. He was angry and aggressive. And he was angry with the female when she would always come closer to us, That's quite often in the animal kingdom. The female, she's got her boundaries and she can get out a little bit more, but the male will always be there and he'll be like, hey, what you doing, kind of thing. It's funny to see, but that's just how kind of it is in the animal world, I suppose. And the whole situation reminded me of that. Maybe he's had a bit of a tantrum. He's gone back and broken everything. She felt a bit guilty because she's been following me all year and thought, I'm just going to leave him, this skull. I don't know. Yeah.
So before I throw the ball over to Matt, I want to tell you that several of the things that we appreciate about you as a researcher is that your research area very well, and also that your observation skills are excellent. And as a fellow researcher, we really appreciate seeing a researcher like yourself that's so detailed.
Oh, cheers. Thank you.
Yeah, well done. Let's go over to Matt in Quincy, Washington.
Yeah, talking about how you went in and you found a lot of the stuff broken, taken down, destroyed, altered to where it didn't look like they were there at all. And your theory about that, incorporating how they're so reclusive.
Yeah.
And I remember when you were on the first time, you told us a story about the village that went and they killed one and they captured another.
Yeah.
And given how long the history is for that area, maybe that's just how they behave now, because that might have been something that was
this is it.
like a really common thing, or
yeah.
hunting down, attacking, driving them away, and it's just part of the way they are now. Just avoid
100%.
people at all costs.
Yeah, yeah. And I've always thought exactly that, and I've always thought that about them globally, all around the world. That they will be thousands of years old, and they will have lived with ancient man, and even ancient man might have been doing the same. This is something that is built in their mind and habit.
Yeah.
Just completely avoid us, and that's even why I think if you look at them using rocks or stones to break up bones and things, they're not like sharpening the rocks or anything. They're not like flint knapping like we learned millions years ago. They don't want to do that. They don't want to leave any evidence really of what I mean, of
Yeah.
anything like so.
Leave no trace kind of thing.
Yeah.
I don't blame them too, because if there has been a history of violent interactions,
Yeah.
I mean, look at the way it is now. We're everywhere.
We are everywhere.
All over the place.
Yeah.
And in numbers. So
yeah.
I can understand it.
Oh, for sure. It's the only way they've survived this long, really, for sure. Complete staying away from us. That's often in my mind as well. Do I keep doing what I'm doing? Because I know what I've seen, and I know it's real. I know it's out there. But do I want to keep? I don't know. Bringing that information to everybody else, for them to keep going out and looking and disturbing these areas. I don't know. I love being out there, and when I find things, I love filming it and showing it. But I do think we, as researchers, really have to be careful with what we're doing in a sense, like, because I think that this is such a fragile thing, really. I think there's a lot of them, but I think it's so fragile. Like, I mean, as humans, we kill everything. And I don't know, like, I don't know, but I do think we have to be careful of how we approach it. And this is why I don't go off anymore. Like, I don't know, I won't go off just running through the forest solely looking for Bigfoot. I'll go out looking for their signs and prints and structures. If I manage to film one, then that's an absolute bonus. But I'm not just going to go out. If I hear a woodknock charging towards that woodknock anymore, I don't know.
So Tom Coburn from Trails in the Woods, coming out of Germany and Great Britain, of course.
Yeah.
You are a excellent researcher and have great contributions to the research community. So we appreciate you. Where can our viewers find you on social media?
Yeah, you can find me on Facebook. That'll be Trails in the Woods, searching for the European Wildman. And also there's the group on Facebook, which is Bigfoot of Europe Investigation Group. But you can find that through, my profile, which is just Trails in the Woods, European Wildman Research. And also on YouTube, which is slowly growing. But that's again, Trails in the Woods, European Wildman Research, and that's where most of my main, all my episodes, my full investigation episodes are, and a lot of smaller little clips that I've taken out, interesting finds or so. Yeah.
We will have a link in the description, and we highly encourage you to check out his channel and his social media activity. He's got a lot of great stuff, and like I said, is a great researcher. Matt, why don't you close us out?
Well, I greatly appreciate you being on the show today. It's a lot of good information, a lot of good pictures, and the differing perspective from North America to Europe is, I think, it brings a lot to the discussion. It's all about the same thing, but different parts of the world have a tendency to look at it a little bit differently. And it's so valuable.
It is. I'd just like to say to that, I mean, before I started any of this, the only people, the only place you can kind of compare any research to is from the US. So it's really awesome to be able to come together and discuss these findings, because a lot of them are so similar, but sometimes it can be very different. But the majority of it is very similar, and I think it's great that we can, you're in Alaska, right? I mean, I'm in Germany. We can talk. I think it's great. Awesome. Yeah, awesome.
We look forward to having you on again, and we're proud to have you as a partner. And especially can't wait to see what your research in England will unveil. So we're looking forward to seeing that. Thank you so much. I'm sorry, Matt, go ahead.
Oh, I was just, you're going to England. I've seen some videos from the Screaming Wood. Is like, you planning on going there maybe?
I don't know. A lot of because I'm on the west kind of area, northwest, so we are mobile, so we can kind of get out to different locations. But really, I want to get into the forests around Wales, because some of these forests are really big, and I come from Staffordshire there, and in Staffordshire we've got a very high strangeness forest, woodland there, and that's definitely going to be one of the research areas. A lot of dogman kind of werewolf reports every year, big cat reports, where Bigfoot reports as well. So it's somewhere we will be doing a night investigation as well. But if you've got anywhere you could recommend as well that you wanted to, over there that we could go and check out, we'd be more than willing. So.
Oh, that's awesome. Tom, thank you so much for being with us tonight. We, again, greatly appreciate your time. We know it's a bit later there than it is where we are. So thanks again for taking this time out of your evening to join us. And I know that that our viewers have got a lot of great info. So, and good luck on this next research trip to England. And like I said, we're looking forward to seeing what you guys find, and we'll be checking back in with you. And we definitely want to have you on after that trip so you can share your experiences with us.
Awesome. And just, thank you for having me too, and having me back, and, organizing it all. I really appreciate it. It's a great honor.
You are welcome. And so for myself, Daniel Becker in Anchorage, Alaska, for my fellow host, Matt Slater down in Quincy, Washington, thanks for joining us tonight, and we will see you next time.